Welcome viewers, welcome back to Literary Goa. This is a program that looks at books and authors from Goa. Today we have with us an unusual book and an unusual author, I must say, whose name is Cyril A Fernandes. We know Cyril in many other roles as a student activist, as an employee of the Goa shipyard. Here we are talking to him as the author of a book called Justice at the Grassroots. Cyril, can you give us a gist of what this book is all about, how it came about?
First of all, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity of inviting me here, and CCR TV also, providing this platform to discuss my book. This book has come as a tribute to Anton Francis Fernandes, a Gauda leader who has worked in that community, in the tribal community, in trying to unite the Hindu and the Christian Gaudas. He has been a Sarpanch of Kelwasim Panchayat for some 3 terms, continuous terms, and he has done a lot of work for them in uplifting this community.
For those who might not know, the Gauda community is considered to be the aboriginal community of Goa, the first settlers of Goa, and yet their position leaves much to be desired because they are struggling to get access to education, healthcare, jobs, and many of these things. So Anton Francis Fernandes, many of us knew him as a very active social leader involved in many roles, environmental, community campaigns, and this book is a tribute to him.
To him.
But not just that, yeah.
What had happened is, Anton Francis was someone who had predicted a lot of things that could happen to the Gaudas overall. Now when I talk of Gaudas, I am talking of Gaudas, Velips and the Kunbis together, and in that they can take Dangars also into that as a tribe, Dangars as a tribe. So what has happened historically, these people have been marginalized by the other communities that have followed them and the government. The government, at least according to Anton Francis, has not done enough what they should have done to them, and that's how these people are today on the margins of society, and they are in a very pathetic situation.
Economically and
very
otherwise,
pathetic,
socially also. In fact, I was reading Anita Haladi's work sometime back where she says that initially, these communities were pushed onto the margins literally and physically, in the sense that they were on all the hilly areas. And today many of these hilly areas have been taken over for big government projects, so they are getting pushed a second time. And while we may see these communities in parts of Goa, particularly there is a big belt in central Goa, Tiswadi, Salsette, Ponda. Sometimes they don't enter our consciousness. So I think this is virtually the first book on this community, you would say?
Yes, this actually what I did was, in the course of me documenting Goa's history, I was also documenting earlier. And this happened in between when they asked me to write about it. They approached me, their community leaders, and said, why don't you help us, in writing something about Anton Francis. So I volunteered, and that's how I documented. And then I put in the history of Goa and about them.
So it's a 2-in-1 book. It focuses on Anton Francis, the leader, and it focuses on the community.
Yes, more on the community, and beside also on Anton Francis.
I don't think there is any other book on the community in English.
I have not seen anything like this in English. I think this could be the first one. And this has really documented their lifestyle also. I have tried to document their lifestyle also.
When you say lifestyle, what do you mean?
The way they live, their traditions, all those things.
It's quite different, no, from what we are used to in the middle class.
Completely.
Like, for example?
See, their religion, if you take, their religion. Now we have bracketed them or converted them into Christianity, or now some are considered as Hindus also. But if you look at their religious beliefs, it's totally different. No?
They have a mand.
They believe in Mother Goddess. They don't have this sort of deities that we have, or the statues to believe in, the gods that we have. But unfortunately now the present generation of these tribals will not know what was their past. They were more related to nature. Their lifestyle every day is linked to nature.
They have a mand, which is a cultural space.
Yes, that was the way they used to express them. The mand was the center of their whole life cycle.
I see.
For cultural activities, Plus their decision making also used to happen there. Their laws were all communal laws. The community that we talk,
Decided.
the comunidad has come up from that
The
background.
concept of a Dazan?
Dazan.
Means
Some
10
Dazan.
seniors, 10 or 10
How
whatever.
they would work is, it has to have the learned people,
Yeah.
you know, Dazan.
Elders.
So we call them people who have understood or have better experience of things. So they would come, congregate
Community
in one
heads,
place.
community heads.
Yes. And one amongst them, as a vodil, you know, would be selected to then decide which way to take the decision if there is, you know.
So even Cyril, even their food and their health practices and all have a different approach to what we are aware of.
Completely. Their foods are very limited but very healthy. And that's how, if you see them, they are very steady and well built. Their health issues are very less. If the older ones I'm talking about are not now. Now there are other reasons for them not to have good health. That is because of the physiological areas that surround them in their residences.
Nashne used to be one of their main grains.
Millets used to be one of their major, this one, even now. So their best food till date, which I also enjoy, is ambil.
That is made out of finger millets, nashne, ground nashne, which we today
overnight.
Today they sour it overnight.
Yes.
Which today unfortunately we look down upon, and it's considered to be a poor man's rustic food, but we don't know the health, nutrition and values of these things.
But you know, there is still an opportunity to enjoy the food of these people if you attend any of their festivals that they have, when they get the full platter of their food.
But coming back to a more serious point, Cyril, I think it's tragic that we are losing all this knowledge without even documenting it. And when I say we, it is not only us who need to document it, but the communities themselves need to be empowered to somehow.
See, one is that the community has to do it, is one thing. But what about the government? Isn't it the role of the government to do it? Ultimately, we are governing them, no? And if we are governing, then we have to do justice to them. That is not happening, according to me. What is my opinion is that we have not been able to give justice to them in documenting their life, in enhancing their living conditions. Okay, their economic conditions are poor, their education conditions also are poor. There are now some sparks happening here and there, but there could have been better, more larger, platform provided for them to come up educationally.
What I liked a lot about your book is the photography section of it, where you have culled all these amazing pictures. While we show it to our readers later, can you just describe what the pictures are all about? Because I've never seen such a good collection of pictures dealing with a community which we know so little about. So if you can just describe the pictures.
See, you don't have to describe, you have to just look at them, at the community. And these are only visuals that you get to see in limited thing. But if you look at the community, we don't want to look at the community. They're visible everywhere. In marketplaces, when you travel in a bus. But we don't want to look at them.
No, I agree with you.
Acknowledge them.
I agree with you. But there's also the saying, Cyril, that what the mind does not know, the eye does not see. So if we are not aware that these are the specificities of this community, we are not even going to be noticing it. Whereas your photographs have noticed. Can you explain a few? Which is your favorite there?
All of everything for me is favorite. But there is one photo which I used to always like. That is this lady's photograph, the expression.
Okay.
I really like to see.
Very natural, but strains of age and
age,
the pressure.
The beaten, the marks,
all beaten by a tough life.
And you see this photograph. A woman.
That's a Chikali.
Yes, Chikali. What is it? That the life is bent down. Okay. Instead of being upright, I don't look at her physical thing. I look at the life of us. Bent. They don't get to rise up.
So she is actually collecting clams from this Chikali bay during the low tide. Many people do it.
And that's been their livelihood. That's their livelihood.
And we are damaging it without realizing or thinking what happens, what it does to their lives.
Our industrial activity has caused a lot of damage to them.
I liked a couple of these pictures, particularly more than the others. One is them playing this traditional game.
Tabla head.
We don't even know what tabla khel is. Now, what is it?
I was lucky that I got opportunity to play when we were small.
You know
we
the
used
rules?
to play.
You know the rules.
You'll have to revive, but I know how to play the four
I see.
sticks and to play, hold it like this, count the crosses,
I see.
color, very colorful game. And these are the things we should have documented and kept. In that case, I think even a Goa University or Goa government should have done all this.
Secondly, the Gauda Mand, which is the cultural space. It
Yes.
is a space for them to display their culture and to take decisions. How does it work?
It also works to display whenever it was time for them to celebrate.
Yeah.
Mand was the place where they used to all come together. And then for decision making also, when there were disputes or issues to be settled, again that would be the place where all these things were facilitated.
A lot of colorful photographs of their traditional dances,
Yes.
which we not being aware of don't even see the charm.
Yeah, yes.
You know, in that sense, the this is
Zagur.
from Zagur.
Zagur, yeah. Hindu
The
Zagur, yeah.
Gauda Zagur, yeah. And then of course you also make the point of the Kazan lands.
Yes.
So the government figures say that Goa has about 2,000 kilometers of Khazan walls
Yes.
across the state.
Yes.
Now to build, you know, a wall of this dimension,
Yes.
you obviously need a whole lot of labor and skill.
Yes.
So your argument is that it is the creation of the Gauda.
There is no argument in that. It is their creation.
Okay, okay.
I call it an engineering marvel. And when we talk of engineering, we talk of engineering from our present perspective
Yeah.
of degrees, okay,
Yeah.
diplomas in engineering and all these things. But if you look at their Kazan system,
practical knowledge, yeah.
which they have evolved and built for us,
Yeah.
that is the highest level of engineering without any formal knowledge. And we call them illiterate.
Yeah.
Today, their knowledge is considered as illiterate and not meant for us, for our children. But if you observe, the whole Kazan system is based on tidal movement of our seawater.
In
And
brief,
it falls from 0 sea level to 7 feet of the maximum high tide. The whole tide Kazan system all over Goa falls within this range.
to put it briefly,
Yeah.
if much of this land is below the sea level during high tide,
Yes,
so if it was not controlled, it would have been flooded every few hours.
of course, every 6 hours.
Yeah. So with this elaborate system of walls
Yes.
and your
Bunds.
sluice gates, bunds and sluice gates,
Yes.
the water flow is actually controlled,
Yes.
and these areas are reclaimed to grow paddy or pisciculture or whatever.
Both.
Here you have shown the sluice gates,
Yes.
which are another marvel of Goan technology.
Yes, of course. And with nothing there, no mechanism.
No mechanism.
Involved. It's only the tidal water which controls the movement of the gates
On a one-way valve,
on both ways, inwards
Two-way.
and two ways. Yeah, inwards and outwards.
opening
also,
and
yes.
closing.
At low tide and high tide. So that's the marvel, no? Working where human intervention is not required at all.
So to do this book, Cyril, you have travelled to different parts of Goa. Which areas?
When I started it, they wanted the book immediately, you know.
Yeah.
But and I promised them that I will need at least but a minimum 1 year. But then I had to move around, talk to them, talk to all the leaders, understand Anton Francis. I did know Anton Francis to some extent because we had interacted a lot
Yeah.
together. He was involved with us in the meta strips agitation. Before that, I used to document his work on the Verna Industrial Estate.
Yeah.
It was Anton Francis who predicted that time that Verna Industrial Estate is going to ruin Kelosi, Kortali, and against the promises made by the government that it is going to lead into employment opportunities,
Yeah.
he had said that none of the locals will get employment, but all locals will be removed from there and outsiders would come and settle. Today, whatever he had predicted is come to the T.
Yeah.
This was Anton
We
Francis.
of course we'll talk about Anton Francis because I knew him
Yes,
very well
yes.
and met him many times and
Yes.
had a lot of admiration for him. But which areas did you travel to get all these pictures, to get all these stories?
Pictures, as I told you earlier, I was documenting Goa's history. Okay, in that I travel all over. Every time I get opportunities, when I get free time, I travel. When I'm researching through something, I go and visit and document them
With a camera?
with camera. So, but most of them I think are my mobile pictures, mobile camera.
Why not?
Okay,
Why not?
And
Good
but
enough.
I did carry some.
Good enough.
That time I had a camera which I used to carry some. Uh, and I have traveled to all remote areas wherever the Gauda community resides. Their
Mostly,
leaders,
where mostly where?
Kepe, Kankon. But to interview them, there are a hell lot of number of interviews I had to take, to document and
To understand the
understand.
complexities.
Yeah. So in that time I was visiting only the residences of these guys. But that was in Fatorda, Margaon, and in Kelosi meeting his family members, Bogmalo, Vasco.
Yeah.
A lot of areas I had to cover.
So, would you say that the problems of the community today are economic, social, cultural, linguistic, everything?
Everything.
Everything.
Everything. It's a very, composite nature
Yeah,
of problems
yeah.
that they have. See, if you look at them, no, today we have appropriated everything from them. We have appropriated their gods. Their Santeri has been converted into Shanta Durga.
Yeah.
Okay. Their mother goddess also has been shifted, and today we don't even know where are the major statues that once belonged to them. Their language has been appropriated, and we are now introduced some different version of Konkani. Konkani language is their original language, but the Konkani that they speak
Is like
and the
somewhat
Konkani that we are teaching
is
our
very different.
children are
Yeah.
totally different, very alien.
Okay.
Alien Konkani is taught, to our children and to their children, and the Konkani that they are accustomed to
Yeah.
is totally different.
Not to speak of their land and their educational system.
Then lands
Yes.
have been overtaken, appropriated by the Kumnidas. Their lands have been appropriated, and now they have become tenants or munkars
Yeah.
of their lands.
Because they had a different form of land ownership, no, in that sense.
their dress codes
Dress codes.
have been appropriated. We have westernized them
Yeah.
to some extent. So like that, everything of theirs has been, changed by us, the later settlers.
Hmm. Talking about Anton Francis, I knew him personally, and he was an activist who was involved with many environmental, social, cultural movements. He was close to Matani Saldana, if I'm not mistaken, in those days.
They worked together.
Yeah, and I was surprised when you asked me for permission to use the photograph, because although I had clicked the photograph on your cover, I was not aware that he had passed away.
Okay.
He died a bit early in a road accident, I believe.
Yes, at night he died in a hit and run case.
Oh,
He
gosh.
suffered out of that in hospital for a long period and never recovered out of it.
So his son actually now is in the priesthood, or?
His son has joined priesthood.
see.
Yes, it's a good sign.
I see. I
Yes,
see.
because he can also, like a father, lead
Yeah.
his community and other communities
True.
to be, good Christians and good human beings.
Anton Francis had this vision of improving the community and doing whatever it took to do it. So, like, he would focus on education, he would focus on, even he was a sarpanch of Kelosi. And that village, I went there, I visited for this for the release of this book. That was about 3-4 years back.
Yes, 2016.
And I was pleasantly surprised of how much they've tried to really build up the place.
Yes.
So in that sense, they put in a lot of effort, but probably not enough for everyone.
Whatever he could do at his time, within his limitations, he has done a lot for the community then. Not only for the community, the whole. If you look at the plans that he had within the panchayat, that time Kelosi was with Kortali. Now today Kelosi is a separate panchayat. That time it was Kelosi Kortali panchayat.
Yeah.
So he was of Kortali.
Yeah.
While also doing development work of Kelosi, he was also developing Kortali.
Yeah.
And the vision that he had, to develop Kortali, none of the present leaders have displayed the same.
I see.
Yes.
I see. So when you talk about these communities, what is the way ahead for them in your view, Cyril?
No, they have to be rightfully given their place. We have to acknowledge first of all that they exist.
Yeah.
And that they are also human beings, and they have equal rights like we have.
Yeah.
And that has to be acknowledged, and the rightful place has to be, space has to be given to them. We need to help them in employment. We need to help them in education. And when I say need to help them, it's not by giving them something.
Yeah.
You have to give them their right, equal, 100% opportunities. Okay. Today, for your information, there is a backlog of 3,000 jobs for ST community. A backlog which the government is not willing to fill. Now see, employment is something that is the key to upliftment.
Without which you cannot go ahead.
No. It is the economic upliftment. If you have to provide to anyone, you need to give him that job.
Yeah.
And today the government is denying this fundamental right.
It is a bit ironic, no? Because all this time you said, okay, they are not educated. Today they have got the education after
Yes.
50, 60 years of liberation. They have got education, but the jobs are not.
Today they have among them educated teachers.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have some PhD scholars, a few, but
Yeah,
still.
they've reached all the levels.
They've reached all levels.
In the field of education. But there are
But much more is needed. Much more is needed.
Push from the government is needed.
Yeah.
See, in education field itself, there are some 300 vacancies which the government is not filling.
Yeah.
See, so the educated Gauda students will immediately get jobs if those vacancies are filled.
Tell us about your interest in the history of Goa. What fascinates you? Why such a deep interest? I appreciate it. I'm not.
No, that is the history angle was by default.
Yeah.
When I took up the metastrip issue.
Metastrip was this campaign on environmental lines against this company being set up at Kortali.
Yes, and I had been approached there to help the tribals only. The local employee who was of GSL had approached me to help them out, and I was trying to look at it from the human rights perspective.
Yeah.
And I knew that we needed this to help these people, because the metastrip was coming in an area which was where all tribal people were,
Gauda community mostly
were residing there all around.
Yeah.
So when that issue was, getting hotter and hotter, the government was, not accepting our arguments that it is going to cause environmental degradation of the environment as well as human beings. So I had initiated a scientific study of the whole impact of that company. That's how I brought in Mr. Sagar Dara from Hyderabad to
this
do
environmentalist
campaign, to do an EIA from our side. The government had also brought in the proponents, but we had doubts on it. So we thought, let us also do another EIA from our on behalf of the tribal side. In that, I was asked to identify all heritage and historical areas within a 25-kilometer zone.
I see. Radius
of Metastrips company. So that was job given to me by this environmentalist. He said, you do that, rest I will do. So I ended up going, visiting or going into the library and trying to, see what was falling within this 25 kilometers.
Quite a lot area.
So then I started going deeper and deeper, and today I am neck deep into Goa's history, and I am fascinated with it.
It is a fascinating history. You're absolutely right. There's so many things which you are not aware of.
We don't know anything.
We don't know
even
anything.
Know 5% of
our ignorance is profound.
And whatever we know is all distorted history.
True.
That has been presented to us today.
True.
Okay.
So everyone would like to play up certain aspects of their families, their societies, their communities, but not.
Today's Goa's history has been written by a few people.
Yeah.
And I think there was an ulterior motive in writing that history. Understood? That's why in Goa's history you don't find anywhere the tribal community mentioned. Nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It starts at a certain point and it doesn't talk about
what was there before it.
Before it. Okay? So I am trying to do, if possible now, to go into all that past and rewrite Goa's history from a tribal perspective, from the first man's perspective.
So would it be right to say that you are an author by accident? You didn't plan to write this book, but it was thrust upon you. Is that
actually,
right?
To correct you, this is my third book.
Wow.
Yeah.
The other two are?
The first two are in GSL as part of my work.
Work. So,
That was part of my work.
But of course, I don't mean to minimize your contribution, because writing makes you think at a very deep level, and you've done a very interesting job in creating a book which on a topic which didn't exist in that sense. But what would be your advice to young people who might want to write a book? Is it easy? Is it tough? How should they go about it?
No, the young should all write. It's the right time also to write. There is the readership available. And it is important that we bring these issues into the public domain. We debate such issues. My book is like something I wanted, a lot of things that I have claimed, and I wanted a healthy debate to happen. So many things that I have, tried to correct from the past history that has been written. And I want that new writers should come up, the young breed. In that sense, I should appreciate Professor Alito has done something by introducing that blog Hong Kong.
Yeah.
An excellent step that he has initiated.
Where a whole lot of young tribal students and
yes,
others,
the marginalized
students
of
get a
students,
voice.
He had motivated
the
in
blog.
that blog, Hong Kong. And there have been beautiful write-ups that have come.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful
Voices which we would have otherwise never heard.
We'll never get that opportunity. We don't give such opportunity to them,
Yeah.
So that is a good beginning, and we should all help, encourage.
So your point is, however small, even if it's a blog, do it and get started and write on something which is not covered.
So even if you can write one page, we have to write. There is one person who is doing a lot of writings, and that's Devidas Gaonkar. But unfortunately, the problem is that he writes in Marathi. He has written excellent.
I see.
And he writes beautifully, and being from the community, he writes from his heart. Today also I, told him, see if someone can translate that, because in English it goes to a larger audience.
Yeah, issues are important, especially from this community. And who are the other writers? Advocate João, and who are the other
There
writers?
is Advocate João Fernandes, who also
from
writes.
Kepe.
Yes. He is doing a very good job. He is trying to document the traditions. And Konkani language also he is trying to document now, the original Konkani that they speak. See, if you see Konkani, the real Konkani can be heard in Kepe, Kanakona, and that Sangem belt. That Konkani and today's what Konkani we speak here are two poles apart. So he is trying to document that. In that way, there is Favita Dias, who is also
doing her PhD or has done. Yeah,
I think so. So she is written well. So there are some people coming up.
True. And what next? After this, what are your other plans? This was a really surprising book, and I really appreciated the way, the trouble you took to, package this issue, not just in terms of the serious aspects of it, but also the cultural and, aesthetic issues in terms of the people, their culture, their dance, so many things. What are your other plans?
See, my writing is more from the human rights perspective. If I see injustice, then I feel about it, and then I try to write it here. I have now seen another issue that has, attracted me, and I'm working on it. For the last 2-3 months, I've already started working, and
which the reader will know more about when the book emerges.
Yes.
Of course, your human rights is a full different chapter, and if we go into that, we would need another 30 minutes.
Yes.
But I'm just flagging it to remind people that Cyril is also human rights. But having said that, we really like to wind up because the clock is telling us that we are out of time. That was Cyril Fernandes, the author of Justice at the Grassroots. Thank you so much for being here with us. Looking forward to more books from your pen.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to come and discuss my book here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frederick.